At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order of November 15th, 2023 to order at 5:30. Andrea, can you call the roll, please?
Jose Alamillo.
Yes, here.
Andrea Delvati here. Allison Down. Here. Tina Iwanio.
Here.
Stephanie Fiore. Here. Ina Sada. Here. Jennifer Ziegler is absent. Also in attendance is Dr. Borchowski, Dr. Leva, Ms. Manganello, Mr. Humble, Mr. Deany, Mr. Morato, Dr. Kurtzman, Ms. Howlett, Dr. Stavro, Ms. Maglioni, Ms. Sendelbach, Ms. Brophy, and Mr. Amber.
We have a quorum. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to entertain a motion that the Board of Education establish the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, can you call the roll, Andrea?
Delvati, yes. Downs.
Yes.
Iwanio. Yes. Fiore.
Yes.
Sada.
Yes.
Alamillo.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. I'd like to entertain a motion that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Andrea, call the roll.
Delvati, yes. Downs.
Yes.
Iwanio.
Yes.
Fiore.
Yes.
Sada.
Yes.
Alamillo.
Motion passes. As seeing that there were no items removed from the consent agenda, we'll skip item 5. Public participation is next. Do we have any public participation? We do have another one at the end of the meeting. We just ask that you fill out a form if you wish to speak. Okay. In the board packet was the enrollment reports. Are there any questions on the enrollment reports? Okay, moving on. Board business. The first item is board member appreciation.
So we tried to shower you with much love. We found it at your table today. I hope you know how much we appreciate you and the leadership that you provide us and the support that we constantly get. It's nice when we ask our kids to make cards with you and they actually know who you are. That's a really big deal. So thank you for being present in our learning communities and always showing up for us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. You always show us much love, so thank you. Next board business item is the Triple I Conference, which is coming up this weekend. So Kinga made us these beautiful packets, as she does every year, so we know where to be and when. And Kim will text us and let us know. Just don't forget it, because it has your conference badges inside of there.
Right. Please do not forget your bullet.
If you forget it, I'm coming down on Friday. Okay. Also on the under board business is the Leiden Area Board Dinner. This is a very nice dinner. We always attend. If you can make time to attend, all the area boards get together and Leiden District 219 hosts a nice dinner. They usually have a short presentation and then the culinary kids will cook for all of us and it's usually very good. It is on Wednesday, July 31st and it's at 6 p.m. Do we know if it's at East or West this year? I'm not sure. Location to be determined. Perfect. All right. Do that now. Okay. All right, there's no old business, so we'll switch old business. And then before we go to new business, we're going to move to action items. The first item is the approval of the 2023 audit, and we have Dan Curran, I hope I said that right, here to speak to the board.
There's a microphone.
That's only Mike. Good evening, everyone. Also, this is my first time at this new school. It's awesome, by the way. I'm like dying to ride that slide. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Dan Curran. I was the auditor for the district's audit this year. So a couple of good news things to report first. We're issuing an unmodified opinion. I don't know if there's like a layman term for that. Sometimes you hear clean opinion. It's the best you can do, though, meaning your financial statements are free of material misstatements and are accurately presented. One item of note on the results of the year, the state of Illinois issues a profile score for all the districts, and this district scored a 3.7 out of 4, which is the recognition criteria. And that's the same distinction that's been held for the last 12 or so years, so that's also great news. So very good financial performance this past year. Not really many significant changes from the previous year. The district had an increase in their reserves or fund balance. I'm trying to use like layman terms here. Hopefully the nerdy accounting term is fund balance. Maybe it resonates more with the public as reserves increased by 2.4 million. So that means that your budget was relatively maybe conservative and relatively balanced. So good results financially. The other item I'd like to report on is the district receives a good amount of federal funding, and that federal funding requires a compliance audit. And this year, due to some COVID funding, ESSER funding, that was the major program that was required to be focused on this year. And a lot of that money was used for construction, and we test that money for compliance with the terms of the grants, and that was all, we found no findings there, so that was all in compliance with the terms of the grant agreements. Really everything else was kind of status quo from the previous year. Really want to give a shout out to Pasquale, Mr. Moranto, I should say, as you were introduced, and Kim and team, and Kathy. We don't come out here as much, we don't get to see you guys as often, but we do appreciate all the work that you do, and makes our job very easy in auditing the district here. So that's kind of what I had, and I don't know if there's any questions, but thanks to everybody for having me out.
Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion that the board approve the 2023 audit as presented.
I'll move. I'll second.
Are there any questions, comments, or concerns?
Andrea, please call the roll, please. Delphine, yes. Downs?
Yes.
Duanio?
Yes.
Fiore? Sada?
Yes.
Alomino?
Motion passes. We'll move back to new business information. And then we'll start with the second item, the tentative 2023 tax levy. Mr. Moranto is going to update the board. There's seats right up here in front if you guys want to come sit over here.
Come sit here. Too late.
That is seat. You guys can all sit here.
Your beautiful face, yes.
Seats were here to save everyone's back last year, so.
All right, well, just a quick update on the tentative levy. year, the board, one of their major functions is to adopt the annual levy. In November, we do it tentatively, and then in December, you guys are asked to approve. Obviously, we go through a process of getting the most up-to-date current information. We try to keep it as clean as possible from December, and if any changes, I will update you guys. The levy is very important. It represents about 65 to 70% of all district revenues. It's our major source of funding for elementary schools in general. The estimated levy or the tentative levy must be determined no less than 20 days prior to adoption, and the certificate must be filed with the clerk for the last Tuesday in December. We always just file the day after the working, so you can follow along. Truth and taxation law is applicable if the board chooses to adopt a levy that's more than a 5% increase over the prior year's extension.
I usually talk a lot. It's not applicable for this year, or we're recommending that it's not applicable for this year because we recommend levying at 5%. The tax cycle for Cook County starts with the assessment, then goes to board of review, then moves to state equalization, then the actual taxing bodies do their levies, and then taxes get extended. It's all part of the tax cycle in Cook County. In the county, the assessed values are a little bit different than in other counties of the state. In Cook County, residential is assessed at 10% of the market value, commercial is assessed at 25%, and then the county is assigned a multiplier to bring it up to an equalized value to make it the same with other properties throughout the state. And that tries to equalize it to 33.3% of the market value. This year, the county multiplier is 2.9237%. So now, obviously, the big talking point is the triennial reassessment data. Obviously, as you guys know, property taxes increased significantly in Cook County this year. The Cook County assessor reassessed our area of Cook County, and as shown on the screen, and I'm sure as you guys have seen, residential real estate in Cook County was reassessed at upwards of like a 42% increase on average throughout the county. The portion of the percentage of the revenues that go towards the district specifically have remained consistent year over year. So our percentage as a whole has remained consistent year over year. And because we're tax capped as a district being in Cook County, it means that every year we can only request or levy a maximum of 5% or CPI of the prior year levy itself. So this is just the data specifically from the assessor showing the different types of property groups and their increases year over year. So for residential, it was 42% across the county. For commercial, 56%. So large numbers. The current reality is that things are a little bit delayed. It's Cook County. It's kind of what we've expected now for the last 2 years. EAVs normally come in around May. We receive them in mid-October. As you all know, the second tax payment, which is normally in August, is now due December 1st. This is the second year of delay. And CPI and inflation came in at 5% again, and that's the second year in a row. Historically, inflation has been pivoting around the 2% area, but obviously, as we all know, the last 2 years have been pretty significant, and we've hit the 5% cap that we can levy for it, and that's from 22 and into 23. We're anticipating that that's not going to be the case next year, but those numbers will come out after December for the next levy. I love to put this slide up here. It shows the historical EAV and the indirect relationship that it has with taxing rate. So as you can see from 22 to 23, the EAV significantly increased due to the assessor's reassessment. Because they're indirectly proportional, the taxing rate itself goes down as EAV go up. But it's also important to note that just because the tax rate increases or decreases, that does not equal a property tax bill increase or decrease. There were 2 public acts that were put in place at first last year that now move forward every year in the future. The first public act allows taxing bodies to receive supplemental levies to recapture losses due to PTAB, Board of Review, or certificates of error. The amount is automatically extended without action by the district, and it's not subject to tax cap for for that year. The county treasurer certifies the amounts November 15th, but obviously that being today, it is yet to be released to us. Part of the Cook County delay, of course. And from last year, the amount that we received was $669,000. The other public act is that taxing bodies must disclose cash reserve balances on operations. We always give the fund balances that are most recently reconciled, and those are what's shown on your screens and in the emails that I sent to you guys as of the end of October. So the calculations for the actual levy itself, because we're tax capped, we can only request a maximum increase of 5% or CPI, whichever is less. And because CPI this year is at 5%, that's the maximum that we can request. New property is not included in the cap for the first year, and on average, our districts averaged roughly $5 million annually in new property over the past 5 years. We work with the village on this to see what's kind of being built in our area. Last year, there was a warehouse that finished that hit the tax rolls, and then this year, there are 2 warehouses that are finished that hit the tax rolls. We're not anticipating a significant increase, and we don't have any TIFs that are coming due. So we're thinking that as long as we anticipate the average, that we'll probably hit where EAVs will be next year. The March payment will be the first payment of the next levy year, and that will estimate about 55% of the prior year levy. Once we get EAVs, the second payment will true it up with CPI on the new property. For the tentative levy, obviously we just went through a triennial reassessment year, so this year, 3 years triennial, so this year we're not getting reassessed through Cook County. We're estimating about 5% growth in EAV. Obviously that's something that's very hard to estimate. As we found out last year, the county assessor does what he does, and we just kind of hope that we're getting it right. Because it's not a reassessment, we don't anticipate a significant increase, but we've seen in non-reassessment years small fluctuations, 5% up and 5% down in the EAVs. That $5 million in new property, it seems like every time we look around the town, there's not much going on when it comes to new properties and buildings, but we talked to the village, and they obviously let us know certain things that are maybe tucked away in the industrial areas and whatnot. We don't have any sunsetting TIFs this year, and there are maximum tax rates on certain funds like O&M, special ed, fire prevention, and working cash. For the levy for this year, what we try to do is we try to make the levy consistent with the fund balances that we have. So for this year, we're anticipating O&M, transportation, Social Security, working cash, and our special ed fund to be levied consistent with our current fund balances. Our increase in the education fund is to supplement the levy itself. That is the fund that is most easily movable. The dollars are most easily movable into other funds with the district. So we like to capture a lot of that in there. And of course, that's the biggest fund that we have when being a service provider for educational staff and students. We are minimally levying in the municipal retirement fund because of a high fund balance. Due to unforeseen increases in CPPRT over the last few years, that fund balance has remained fairly high. So if we start decreasing the levy in there, the CPPRT will fund that coming out of our expenditures. We have 4 remaining bonds, the 2016, 2017, 2018, and the referendum bonds. And we always levy 1% in fire prevention to keep the fund open. And then finally, this is kind of just a calculations page. It's a lot of numbers, but in the green, that's our proposed levy. As you can see with the calculations, the truth in taxation law is not applicable, and we are levying in total, that's the number on the bottom. And this is what you guys see normally. It's the certificate that we actually have to send to the county, and it delineates what levy amounts in each fund are. And I know that was a lot, and it's always riveting information, but if you guys have any questions, please let me know. Okay? Yeah.
And just to remind the board, there is a
copy of this in your board packet, so we'll be voting on the levy next month, so if you want to review it and have any questions for Pasquale, email him beforehand, so he can make sure to get you guys the right answers. Okay. Now, I know you all came to hear the tentative tax levy. I enjoyed it, but okay. Anywho, we are all here today to celebrate June, and the Historical Commission Archive Room dedication. I know this is not about me, but I want to share one small story. One of my first days in Schiller Park Schools was in 5th grade when we moved here, and what they put on the wall was my 5th grade class was presenting the ABCs of Schiller Park. So my first day I got to learn all about Schiller Park, and June was there, and that book has been passed around for many, many years to many generations. So it is so nice to see the Historical Society come out of the basement and up to the light, and some space to see some really amazing things. I learned so much from walking through the opening the other day, or sorry, not the other day, a couple months ago. And it was really fun to learn even more about Schiller Park, even though I've lived here most of my life.
So June, I know you love attention. In fact, when I asked you to come and sit in the front row, I saw you roll your eyes at me. I just want to say thank you for your commitment to our community and all the lives you've touched in ways that we probably don't even realize. And you'll continue to touch those lives for many years to come. Unsolicited emails that we got when we talked about this ceremony for you, people just wanting to come out that weren't initially on the guest list because we had no idea. And they told stories of things you did for them and their family. And I just hope you know the impact that you've had on so many lives in our community, and we're just so proud to be able to do this for you today. Now, I love our chats. You know, she'll call me sometimes and she'll say, I need some time. I need some time. Give you all the time in the world. It's always a good day when I get to sit with June and talk about the world and talk about life. And she always tells me to keep looking up, and I'll keep looking up. So your Historical Commission members really wanted to honor you in a way that was significant for all that you've done. And that's what brought us here today, right? Because we want to dedicate that archive room to you. And I, of course, came to this board and asked them how they felt about that. And every single one of them, hands down, felt that that was an outstanding, amazing thing to do. So there's so much love for you, June, in this community, and we know you love us. So that's why that's a mutual thing, right? And it's reciprocal. So thank you. I'm gonna this little plaque here we're gonna hang in the archive room on the wall. We'll show you where it's gonna go. And I don't know if there's. Oh, also after this, we're gonna go into the cafe for a little reception, and there'll be a microphone in there because I'm sure. You know, I got to rob the room right now, but I'm sure all of you have things that you'd love to say to June. So we're going to have you walk up to that microphone anytime you want while we're breaking bread together and tell June how much you love her. Thank
Okay, and we'll move on to new business information, item number 3, District 81 2023 Annual Summative Designations.
So each year the state board allocates a designation to schools, and we are proud to say that all 3 of our schools have received executive status from the state board recognition this year. So
Congratulations. Okay, so we did the audit. There's no executive session tonight. So the next item up is personnel report. I'd like to entertain a motion that the board approve the personnel report for the month of November as presented. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Andrea, call the roll. Belzati, yes. Downs?
Yes.
Iwanio?
Yes.
Fiore? Yes. Sada? Yes. Palomino?
Motion passes. We have our second public participation of the night. I did not see anybody fill out any forms, so we'll move on. And next item up is adjournment. I'd like to entertain a motion that the Board of Education adjourn the regular board meeting of November 15th at 5:55 PM. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Andrea, call the roll.
Delphine, yes. Downs?
Yes.
Iwanyo?
Yes.
Fiore? Sada?